We've seen all of Node's built-in APIs now, but there are a ton of third-party packages that we can use to bring extra functionality to our applications, and we get these packages through the Node Package Manager. Now, the Node Package Manager is exactly what it sounds like, a package manager for packages and modules that people can make and share with each other, and you can use them with your Node applications. The NPM utility was installed when you installed Node, and you can see its website at npmjs.com. As you can see here on the NPM homepage, there are over 100,000 packages that you can use with Node through NPM. So let's look at how we can use some of these libraries. So I'm in a project folder here on my desktop, and let's say I want to build a web application that uses Express as part of the backend. Express is one of the most popular Node packages. It's a framework that makes building web applications really easy. So let's take a look at how we can use a package. The command you want to run is npm, and as you can see, if I just run npm, we have a whole list of all the different subcommands that we can use with npm. Now, most of these commands will be used when you're creating your own NPM packages that you want to share with other people. However, the one you will use most often is npm install. So let me clear the screen here, and we'll do npm install, and I will say install Express. If you give it just a second, you'll see that Express will be installed. Now, we know that Express is installed because if I open this directory, you can see that we have a Node modules folder within our projects folder. And if I open it up, one of the modules we have is Express. And this is where a Node module is stored when you install it this way. This means that every project you create will have its own copy of the module within that project directory, which is a really good thing when a project updates to a different version, for example. You may have older projects that depend on an older version of a library, and those will continue to run just fine, even if you want to use the newer version of a library in your newer projects. So let's see how we can use this Express module now that we have it installed. Let's create a server.js file, and I will do var express equals require express. Now, notice that we don't have to pass any kind of path here. We just pass the name Express. When we require something like this, and Node realizes that we are not asking for one of the built-in APIs, it will assume that this is the name of a folder within the Node modules directory inside of this project folder. And if there is no Node modules directory in this folder, it will look in the parent directory and so on until it can find a matching module. Since we have a Node modules directory in the same directory where we have this server.js file, it will find this Express folder with no trouble at all. Now we can actually create an application by calling this Express function, and then we can actually create a route. So let's just create a root route here. And this is the way the Express library works. We have our application object, and then the HTTP method is our actual method name. The route that we're listening for is the first parameter, and then we have a function which will perform whatever action happens when we have a request that comes to that route. Here, let's just use the response object to send back the text hello world. And then we can just say app.listen on port 3000. And now I'll come back to the terminal and we can run this file, and notice that it just kind of hangs there, which is what we expect because it's a server listening for a request. And if we go to localhost port 3000, you can see we have hello world being displayed. So our web application is working just fine. So that's a basic example of how you would use an NPM package. However, not all packages are meant to be used within the context of a project like this. Some NPM packages are actually complete utilities written in JavaScript. One, for example, is the NodeDaemon server. When you want to install a package that is a complete utility, one that you expect to use as a standalone utility and not something you would use within a project, you use the -g command, which says install this globally. So I'll go ahead and install NodeDaemon globally. So the purpose of the NodeDaemon utility is to restart a server when any changes have been made. Previously, we ran node server to run our server.js file. Now, this is great for starting up a server. However, if we make any changes to the server.js file, we would have to come in here, quit the server, and then run it again to see those changes reflected in the browser. What we can do instead is use NodeDaemon, which will restart the server whenever any changes have been made. And you can see that right here we have the one green line saying starting node server. Now, if we come back to the file, and let me just add a few new lines and save the file again. If we come back to the terminal here, you can see we get restarting due to changes, and it restarts the server. And so NodeDaemon is a great package to use in your development cycle. Now, there's one more feature of NPM that I want to show you, and that is the package.json file. NPM makes it really easy for you to create your own Node packages. And one of the things that you need to define a Node package is a package.json file. Now, we won't be discussing how to create NPM packages in this course, but you can use this package.json file in your own projects as well, even if you don't plan to publish them to the NPM repository. The way to create an NPM package is by doing npm init. And now this is going to ask you a series of questions that you can answer to fill in the basic portion of your package.json file. And so we start by giving it a project name, and we'll just call this cool project. Version 1 is fine. We don't need a description. The entry point is the file that would be loaded when someone requests this module, like we did when we said require express. In our case, this doesn't really matter. I'm just going to hit enter for the rest of these questions because the main point here is that now we have a package.json file. If I list the contents of this directory, you can see it right there. And so now what this allows us to do is when we install a node module, we can add a record of it to our package.json file. So we can do npm install express like we did before, but now I'm going to do -- save. And when I do this, express will of course be installed, but now if I cat out the package.json file, you can see right here this JSON file has a property dependencies, and you can see that express is now a dependency of this project. What this means is that if I were to send this project to someone else, maybe I put it up on GitHub and anyone can fork it or download their own copy, I'm not going to commit the node modules folder because those are dependencies and not actually part of this project. But now that I have this package.json file recording all of the dependencies, someone else can easily install these because they know what they need to get this project to work. And even better, they don't even have to look at what the dependencies are, because let's say you download a project from GitHub, it has a package.json file. Inside that project directory, you can just do npm install and not worry about passing it the name of a specific module, and it will look at what the dependencies are, and it will go ahead and download those for you. And you even have a version number here, so you can make sure that anyone else who wants to work on this project will get the right versions of the dependencies. You might notice we also have this dev dependencies object. This is great if you have any dependencies that developers of the project need, but not actual users. So in most cases, this could be something like a test suite. Anyone else who wants to develop this project should install the test tools, but anyone using the project doesn't actually need that because they're not planning to develop. So I could do npm install mocha, for example, and I can say save-dev, and save dev means save this as a development dependency. And so now if I cat out the package.json file again, you can see that now we have a development dependency and just a regular dependency. And that's the package.json file. If you're interested in understanding a little bit more about these other properties of the package.json file, I recommend browse npm.org's package.json file, an interactive guide. This is a great way. As you can see, they have a whole package.json file here. And then as you hover over each one of these things, you can see exactly what it is and what it should be over here on the right. In this lesson, we've learned what NPM is and how you can use NPM packages to make node development a whole lot easier.